Good evening, everyone. My name is Manoj Gupta from Plotch.ai. We'll start the webinar in like 2 minutes as people are still joining. So give us another 2 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Manoj here from Plotch.ai. Very interesting minicon that I have been waiting for a long time. And because of, not because of AI hype, more because of the speakers that we have today for AI minicon. Exemplary, just amazing backgrounds. And, I'm just very, very happy to have these speakers. Looking forward to hearing them about AI. AI is everywhere. I mean, even when we are sleeping now, it looks like there's a lot of AI everywhere, kind of stuff. So with AI proliferation everywhere, right? What is happening is that there's a lot of what I would say is a lot of people have a lot of questions. How is AI relevant to me? How can I use AI? Because there's so much happening. It's such the AI is moving at such a speed, and maybe in India we don't realize it, but it's massive in US or outside of India, kind of stuff. 1 out of 2 companies, startups today are AI, which are getting funded in US. That's mind blowing, right? 1 out of 2, right? Almost every leader that you see, tech leader, whether it's the CEO of Microsoft, Google, whether CEO of OpenAI, large enterprises like IBM, everyone is talking about AI. So AI is so much proliferated today that we thought we need to have something in India, and we need to have something where we are talking about AI, and trying to understand how we can use AI, in our enterprises, in our daily lives. How can we use it for productivity boost, for revenue, for P&L, for customer experience, seller experience, right? Lot of things like how can I do it? That's basically the fundamental question that we realize people struggle with around us kind of stuff. So we thought, let's bring together, people, and let's hear from them. So we got like, we have Debdoot here, who is from, Meesho. So very large, enterprise in commerce. We have Dr. Rohini, from Microsoft. So we wanted to hear, what large enterprises outside of India and India, what the strategy. So we thought, let's bring Microsoft in here. Then we realize, government is a very, very critical part. So we reached out to Dr. Pankaj. So he's from GEM, which is the government's digital procurement, and that's very interesting. That they are looking at AI in a very, very interesting way. And then, investors, of course, because capital is fundamental to the scale up of AI. AI needs a lot of capital apart from energy and a lot of stuff. Capital is very, very important. So we got, two very, very interesting and highly qualified investors, VCs, Rahul and Poorvi, from very large funds. These are like 600 million and 1 billion kind of AUM that they have, right? Investors in very, very large companies kind of stuff. So investors, large enterprises from India, outside of India, government. This is basically what the kind of speakers that we have today. Now let me like take 2 minutes on two the things that I wanted to highlight. And I thought I'll just start with that, and also tell what Plotch.ai is doing, just so that it is in some ways what Plotch is and what's we're trying to do in AI. AI market is human market and fundamentally centered around human. Whether we like it or not, whether it's gonna replace humans or we're gonna amplify humans, that's something we can take any stand, but fundamentally it's centered around human, and a lot of people are talking about that, where whether the software is basically changing the face. We know about SaaS, like software as a service. The flip is happening, service using software, right? Some service as software kind of stuff. Can we, as and therefore services companies are actually, now a lot of VCs are looking at services companies, because can these services company use AI, and use AI, these AI, the software, where fundamentally you're providing a lot of services but using AI kind of stuff, right? So software is service to service software, where Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, said tech department is becoming HR department, right? Fundamentally, with a lot of agentic, and I'm going to talk about it in a bit. Basically, with AI agents, which are autonomous, kind of thing. We saw generative AI, which generates a lot of content, coding, and all those things. Agentic AI is coming up in a big way, and with AI agents, becoming part of your enterprises, right? Tech department would actually, become HR department, where they're managing these AI agents in your enterprises kind of stuff, right? And your software total addressable market suddenly, becomes the salary total addressable market, because you're targeting human, right? You're targeting the what services humans are providing. So can I replace customer support with humans? Can I amplify my investments, in my let's say I'm in Goldman Sachs, right? I want to amplify my investment team kind of stuff, right? So just morning I was hearing Goldman Sachs CEO said 95% of the IPO prospectus is now generated in their company by AI kind of stuff, right? So can we amplify that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of these things are happening where agentic AI is coming a big way. Now in 2025, that's basically almost everyone is saying, it's not me. 2025 is the year of agentic AI, and that basically tells that agentic AI is coming up in a big way. Um, Human to agent switch, the two switches happening, at least in my view. Humans are becoming agents. Whatever human is doing is basically getting in some ways done by agents. And whatever apps, a lot of apps are becoming agentic. We have a lot of websites will become agentic. Agentic means that they're talking to you, they're autonomous, they can take decisions on their own, kind of stuff, right? And therefore rise of agentic enterprises, which means that enterprises which have a lot of AI agents, right? And they are doing the lot of work, kind of stuff, right? So that's basically the two things I just wanted to highlight. And therefore what Plotch is basically doing is we are building one of the actually very interesting infrastructure where uh, if you need so much of AI agents, how will you create, deploy, and monitor these AI agents, right? And that's basically what we're building. We are building it for commerce, agentic commerce, workforce infrastructure. Basically, as I said, AI's market is human market. So workforce is something that we are focusing on. How can we provide enterprises an infrastructure using which they can create these agents, or even hire agents and then deploy and monitor, in a way that they do monitor or performance monitor their humans and those kind of stuff, and integrate their human employees in their company. How can we do that? So that's basically is very short about me, about Plotch.ai. Now I have here Debdoot. Debdoot, welcome to the MiniCon. I have here a long introduction here about you, which I would just quickly read. Uh, so Debdoot basically is head of AI at Meesho, and he basically comes with exemplary background in AI. He basically was at Mintra, Coach, sorry, Hike, Share Chat. He has, he's a gold medalist at IIT Delhi. That's just amazing. He has authored 20 publication, 25 plus patents, right? He's been doing AI for quite some time, 14 years of expertise in AI kind of stuff, right? So I hear a lot about AI, Meesho, and then I say, who is doing AI at Meesho? And Debdoot is of course the face of AI at Meesho. Debdoot, I've heard a lot about what you guys are doing at Meesho. I would love to hear, of course, the keynote. Up to you, what do you want to present, kind of stuff. But I'm very eager to hear what are you doing at Meesho, and how you're solving business problems, real business problems using AI. So over to you, Debdoot.
Yep. Thanks, Manoj, for the opportunity. Looking forward to speak to this audience. And as you said, I'll largely talk about what we are doing at Meesho with AI. So I'll just go ahead and present my
Sure.
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go into slideshow mode. If you can you see the screen? If you can just
I
give
can see. Yes, I can see very well.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get started. So a little bit about Meesho. I think some of you know we are one of India's fastest growing e-commerce platforms with over 175 million annual transacting users and over 3 million, 2 million registered sellers, right? So largely it's a marketplace, right? We are in the business of connecting users and their shopping needs to sellers who are selling products according to those needs. So we are a marketplace, and we are one of the true marketplaces in the sense that we operate in a model where we do not carry any inventory, right? Um, the Meesho model is sellers are listing products on the platform, and when users like and order those products. There are these logistics partners who pick up the product from the seller and directly deliver it to the buyer, right? So we are a true marketplace in the sense that we do not carry any inventory. We are also India's only profitable horizontal e-commerce player at scale, right? So, so that's about it. I'll go into who's the user of Meesho and what is the target customer profile. So, like in a nutshell, like I'll cover our mission statement that Meesho is around democratizing internet commerce, right, for everyone. And when we say like for everyone, we like today we are sort of India focused, so all of India, right? And what we realize is if you go beyond the cities and towns, there is still a large opportunity who are just coming online, right? So we call them the Bharat consumer. And if you look at the needs and wants of this Bharat user, they're very different when you compare them to the first generation internet user in the country, right? Um, one large theme is they are vernacular first. They don't understand English. They're also in terms of their savviness to technology. For instance, when like let's say savviness to using keyword search, they would not use keyword search as any other first generation internet user in the country would do. And hence, there is a need to think of technology very differently when you're serving this consumer base, right? Because most of the technology that we use today is developed in the West. And like we know that maybe the first generation internet user was staying in the cities and English educated. That's not very different from any other internet user all over the world. So it works for them. But when you're platform is focused on this other user persona, right? Who is like, of course, new to e-commerce, but also like in many cases new to internet, right? Um, you need a very different approach at building products and building technology. The other thing from a marketplace standpoint, like this user is very price conscious. They largely purchase unbranded selection. So Meesho is that marketplace where you have a very wide unbranded selection at the best prices, right? So our consumers choose Meesho for our best, lowest price value proposition and the width of selection, but also because the app is very simple to use, right? So one of the examples is like this audience, they as I said, they are not very good with searching with keywords when it comes to that. So they're much more comfortable when it comes to browsing and feeds, and they want to be recommended products according to their needs and wants. And so a lot of the focus and investment, especially when it comes to AI, is how can you make your recommendations better, right? So I'll move on. So if you look at today, the where we are at Meesho with respect to our AI journey, so pretty much every pillar of the platform when it comes to, let's say, on the user side, you have product discovery to checkout to logistics to support. Every pillar is being powered by AI in a very significant way. Even on the seller side, like cataloging, like seller support, everything has a very strong AI focus, right from on the seller side, even like suggesting them which price points would work for their products. We are recommending some of those things with price with AI. Right? So I'll show some of these examples through the talk. And but like before I get into the details, I think one of the things to understand where we are going with this, and especially when it comes to building an e-commerce platform which could serve this user base, one of the things that we realize is if you look at the products and the way e-commerce platforms have been built, right, they mimic how these large um, uh, stores are structured in the West, right? So if you visited a Walmart or any other large let's say grocery store or any commerce store offline, you would see that there are these aisles, right, where you'll go and you'll take products, you'll add them to a cart, and then you'll drag the cart onto a checkout counter, right, and then you'll sort of make the payment and do the checkout. If you look at most of the e-commerce apps today that exist, they mimic that particular flow, right? So there are these product listing pages, which are synonymous to product aisles. And then there's a checkout process, and then you do payment and so on. But if you look at how India shops, right, or how Bharat shops, we shop very differently. Like the stores that we go to, our neighborhood shopkeeper would sort of have a conversation with the customer, right? They'll like have a conversation. Through the conversation, they'll figure out what our needs are, right? And like it's a bi-directional thing. Like it's not that you are left alone. You keep sort of going through these product aisles and figure out what you want, but you have a conversation, and through that conversation you figure out, the shopkeeper figures out for you what your needs are, and present products according to that, and then you one of them, and you do the checkout. But even through that checkout, you'll have multiple questions about the product that you're purchasing to the shopkeeper. So a lot of this is conversational. So as we build the next generation of commerce, it will be, I think two things will stand out. It'll be much more interactive, right? Today it's a one-way street. It will soon become much more two-way, conversational. And second, it'll become much more immersive. Today, our feeds are very static, like the static images, and like often, like I would say, like it's a boring experience, right? How can it be much more fun, much more engaging, much more immersive, right? And as we look forward to building the next generation of Meesho, I think these are some of the thoughts which stay with us, and AI is that tool which will help us do this transformation, right? Okay, so I'll talk about what where we apply AI today, which follows from that vision. But like you'll get a sense of where are some of the areas where AI is playing a very large role, right? So as I said, like we are a matchmaking platform, right? Of we are doing matchmaking between users' needs and sellers and the products that they have, and we have like hundreds of millions of products that are there in the inventory. And at the end of the day, like on any feed, when you do a search or any other recommendation feed, we maybe serve 20 products, right? So how do you get to from the hundreds of millions of products to the 20 products that we present to the user? And that is what we call ranking, right? Which is hyper personalized to that user, right? And that's one very large area of investment for us, right? So, and typically this is a cascaded ranking system. You have multiple stages of deep learning based models. First, there's a retrieval stage, which will do some approximate nearest neighbor search, either with embeddings or in a token based manner. You'll do some filtering of for purging lower quality catalogs, and then you do ranking, which is personalized to the user, which will use hundreds and often thousands of features to come up with that score of how relevant is this product for this particular user. And then there are other objectives as well, right? So relevance is sort of the primary objective when you do ranking, but then there's quality, right? Because even if you convert, if the product is not of high quality, you will not retain on the platform, right? So as a platform, it's our duty to ensure that higher quality products get more visibility, and lower quality is penalized. And also fairness is an objective, because we operate as a marketplace. We want to stay away from like a rich gets richer effect, which often, if you don't focus on this problem, it's very easy for recommendation systems to get into that particular self-fulfilling prophecy, which gives rise to only a small set of sellers benefiting and the large community not benefiting. So how can you have millions of sellers on the platform, see growth, see orders, and all of that is optimized through the ranking systems, right? And which is all AI led. Again, ads, Meesho monetizes through ads, and even ad relevance is the key in ads, and that again is follows the same ranking engine. Okay. The second one is around search understanding, right? So when you look at the search queries of people who search at Meesho, they're very, very vernacular. Like many a times they are long sentences and so on. So how do you figure out and truly understand the intent from these ambiguous vernacular long tail queries? And there again, we have a lot of investment, right from understanding the query. Right now we are using LLMs to do that. And then, like, how do you focus on relevance in the retrieval phase and the ranking phase and so on? And we've sort of focused on this, that how can you excel at detecting the right intent and solving for the quirks in search for when it comes to solving for Bharat, as I said. Right. The other thing is when it comes to logistics space, right? So the address problem for Bharat or for India is very large, right? So unlike Western markets where the addresses are very structured, um, addresses in India are like I've given an example over here in that screenshot, like where like it's almost like a driving direction, right? And written in vernacular in Hindi in this particular case. And you would sort of, how do you sort of even make sense and resolve this address to a geolocation, right? And there again, we are applying a lot of AI to really accurately geocode the addresses, right? So uh, another space where LLMs are proving to be very useful, and there's a lot of other AI as well here to like LLMs do a very good job at understanding language. They're not very good at when it comes to geographical understanding, right? So how can you build an LLM which understands geography in addition to language, right? So which is proving to be useful here. The other thing, like we are one of the largest and the first platforms in India, which is operating a voice bot at scale. We have over, I think we're still in this process of scaling it, but already over 50, 60,000 calls on a daily basis. All of chat based customer support pretty much entirely is done through Gen AI, even voice bot and voice-based customer support is now transitioning. So yeah, I mean, we built out a bot which does well when it comes to multilingual support. Um, like incidentally, like even the customer satisfaction scores tend to be higher when it comes to bot doing the conversation versus a human. Um, of course, resolution time has increased massively, right? So this is another area where we've recently sort of tasted a lot of success in applying Gen AI. The other thing that I mentioned is around the seller flows, where when it comes to, let's say, cataloging, right? So Meesho is known for having one of the simplest cataloging catalog listing processes, right? And I talked about the user persona, but like even the seller persona at Meesho, they are selling online for the first time, right? So they do not have, like, most of sellers who sell on Meesho are very small businesses operating with maybe 5 employees and so on. And they do not have the means or the margins to invest in doing expensive photo shoots or doing cataloging, which other e-commerce platforms like their the investments that a seller needs to make on cataloging is much higher. So at Meesho, a lot of the attributes that we would need for our discovery and search systems to work are automatically extracted through AI models. We are also investing in making catalog imagery better, right? How do you make better photos for our products and so on? So that's another area where we are successfully using AI, right? And as I said, even price recommendations is a space where we using AI. So that's another set of applications. Yet another thing on the fulfillment side, when it comes to, let's say, there, like it could be a seller or it could be a user, you maybe you've received a wrong product, you raise a claim. right? A lot of these claims were being handled by human agents, right, who would go through the ticket and they would sort of validate that, and even that is being automated today. So this particular example where you say that, hey, I've received a wrong return. This is a seller who raises this ticket, and so it uploads two product images, and the AI is, this is in a multimodal LLM, which is very good at doing very fine-grained image product comparisons and say that, hey, these are indeed two different products, or are they the same product, right? So those kinds of validations are being done through AI now. And all of this, like, the one thing to remember is we talk a lot of AI, but one of the things that we need to invest as a company to do AI at scale is invest in a very high performance ML platform, right? So how do you do all of this AI without letting your costs go up, right? And that's where we've like built out an in-house, cost-efficient, very high-performance ML platform, which we also have the plans this year to open source one component at a time, starting with the feature store. And this really sort of is another thing that we realize, that in the open source community, there is, like, for a scalable and cost-efficient ML platform, they are not very good alternatives. So we invested in and build this out in-house, and it's a prerequisite to really doing AI at scale, right? So with that, I close. If there are questions or
No, amazing, Debdoot. Very fascinated. I think a lot of things that I heard, right? Conversational, like how do you create a conversational kind of experience in your, in your website? Because people whom you are catering to, the customers you're catering to, are from Bharat, right? So they basically, so they, or they are more comfortable talking, and they're more comfortable, speaking their own language, right? And that reflects in the queries that you're getting in your search, right? Because this is just very, very English kind of stuff, right? So
yeah.
so that's very interesting. The second thing that we heard is the cataloging part, because the seller's profile is also same. They struggle with how to catalog. In one of our experience, because we come from e-commerce, cataloging is the biggest blocker from a seller side. So that's also a very interesting fraud, right? That again is an interesting area, because they claim that this product is not same, and how can you detect that fraud? So multiple use cases, and very impressed with what you're doing, and you're doing at a scale, and that's very, very interesting, and doing scale and optimizing the cost, because in India we used to always struggle with the margins, right? So that's basically another thing,
Mm.
which is very interesting, so very pertinent, from what I heard. All the points are very, very pertinent. So a few questions, and I probably ask it very, very quickly, because we have another speaker. Has it been developed in-house, outsourced to some service provider? Some more informed technology will give idea on how to go about it. Then there's another one. What is the difference between discovery and search? Please advise on a search slide once again. And another question, can you tell us more about VoiceBot? Quickly, do you want to take
Yeah.
like a couple of these?
Yeah, very quickly. So it's like all of this is in-house developed, like all of the
Mm-hmm.
examples that I talked about. So that to your question, VoiceBot, yes. So VoiceBot today is live. Pretty much, I think around 50% of all of our voice calls are being handled by this VoiceBot. It is available in English and Hindi today. We plan to scale it to the other Indian languages as well this year, right? On discovery and search, I think I mean, like, search is where you enter a keyword and you do keyword search. Rest, there are other modes of discovery. There could be widgets. There, like, a lot of our order discovery or product discovery is led through recommendations. So broadly, whenever you are explicitly searching for with some keywords, we use the term search. And any other form of feeds that you see on the app is discovered.
No, great. Thanks a lot, Debdoot. I really enjoyed hearing. I would probably reach out personally to you for understanding for our just to understand how you do it, kind of stuff. So would
Sure.
love to have a conversation separately, but definitely thanks a lot. Very, very interesting. And thank you again for being part of this. Yeah,
Yeah,
Debdoot.
thanks for the opportunity. Glad it was useful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it was. Yeah, thank you. With that, we'll switch to the next speaker here, Dr. Rohini. Uh, Now, Dr. Rohini, I mean, she's, I have, it's a long introduction I can give over Dr. Rohini, but she's the CTO of Microsoft India and South Asia, right? So that's like she comes from a technology background. I've read about her multiple times. She's passionate about AI. I think, Dr. Rohini, you were at, I think, Sri Lanka recently about AI, right? You were telling how AI can be productive for enterprises. So that tells, how passionate she is, and traveling around. She has been at multiple companies. She did R&D at AT&T Bell, right? She has published over 25 technical and business papers. Uh, she has an MBA from Wharton, a very rare thing that, a tech somebody from a tech background doing MBA, and she has PhD from UT Austin. Uh, so definitely a very interesting background. I'm very, very impressed. And when I looked at Dr. Rini, I said I have to get her, somehow to come to AI MiniCon. So Dr. Rini, I welcome you here. This is a fire chat, so I will have few questions. But before that, do you want to address, or talk about something that you want to highlight, kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me here, Manoj. I think it's really wonderful to be part of this MiniCon. And I was listening to Debdoot. Of course, I know about Meesho, and again, it's very, very inspiring the kind of work Meesho is doing, the way it's driving real access and inclusion in the country, which is very, very exciting to me.
Yes.
I think just starting out, right? I think you were in your opening remarks, you were saying about how AI is becoming very mainstream and how startups are really leveraging AI. I think that's a very, very important. I probably want to highlight that again. I think
Sure.
today, if I were to say, I don't think any startup is not an AI startup. Every startup is an AI startup. What I mean by that is you may not be creating AI, you may not be sort of technically developing AI, but you have to be using AI, because the pace at which both the technology is changing and the exponential nature in which it impacts your business, it the more you delay, the further you actually are being left behind. It's not about just catching up. It's about being part of that, wave of real paradigm shift. And I think, see, one of the things which people often ask me, and then I'll, pass it over back to you. A lot of people ask me, so what can AI do for me, right? I think obviously every organization, whether it is large enterprise or small and medium business or a startup, the context changes. One you have to realize is that AI is actually not just one technology. It actually is a whole range of generative AI has caught people's imagination since the chat GPT moment. Of course, agentic AI, as you talked about. But uh, as a collection of technologies, it's actually a bouquet of multiple tool sets. And one has to think of it that way. Some people may say it's not a tool set, but okay, fine. But ability to use that to solve problems is where one needs to think about it. And the business problems could be customer related, as they've talked about, in terms of people's ability to interact, ability to shop. Indians shop differently. It could be about employees being more creative, more productive, and actually more happy. Right? I think it could be about the way in which we run our processes. And again, Debu talked about some of the things that are happening in terms of the shopping experience, right? So all of that is reimagined. The one that I feel really excited about is how AI is going to change R&D. I think that is, we are barely scratching the surface,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the way in which new innovations will come out is going to be a whole different paradigm. So there are very different ways to think about AI, but I think approach one has to take is, what is the art of the possible? What is this new capability or the suite of capabilities changing the way in which one needs to think about one's business?
No, great. Definitely very pertinent, Rohini, Dr. Rohini. And now given you talked about capabilities, right? So if we have to look at Microsoft, right? And I basically we have used Microsoft. We have been Azure. So I know a lot about technology, what Microsoft actually offers. But you want to highlight something, to the audience, how some of the Microsoft technologies they can use for their enterprises. For whatever productivity boost or customer experience, whatever the use cases. Yeah.
Sure. So I think one of the thematics I would like to leave with the audience is the idea of a co-pilot. See, we all, those of us who've flown, or we have the idea of thinking that, you have the ability to have an intelligence that is working with you, alongside you, helping you, nudging you, following you. I think that idea of a co-pilot is important. Then the question becomes, with the change in AI, the agentic AI, the ability to actually perform tasks and not just be interactive from a prompt perspective, that changes the nature of what are the capabilities. So Microsoft as a platform provider is working across the entire gamut. And I'll give you three sort of examples. One, if you look at just the way in which Copilot and the ability to use Copilot as an extension with business context and your organization's own data, that is changing the nature of work. Every worker, whether it is any business function or any function whatsoever, frontline worker, any business function, HR, finance, etc., they are all now looking at how a co-pilot can completely transform the way in which they work, make them more efficient, more innovative, more satisfied, and be more effective. Then the second one becomes about, which is, you mentioned Azure. I think to me, Azure becomes a place where you can build your own co-pilots. Because Microsoft, as a first-party products provider, which is the Microsoft 365 and Dynamics, etc., we have infused all of these products with AI. We have infused all of them, and we have taken that learning, because we've ourselves built those products with AI using a stack that we're saying, okay, here, take this stack, and you build your own co-pilots. So then the second element becomes what you call Azure and the AI Foundry, which is a way for organizations, startups who are in the audience to create their own AI capabilities. And they don't have to use only OpenAI models. OpenAI models are one of the models. The model catalog inside Azure has more than 1,800 models. And there's ability to then fine tune them, ability to compare them, ability to create guardrails, ability to do safe and trusted AI deployment. And then finally, I think as a platform provider that works across the stack, I think our ability to also take AI to the edge. But one way it shows up is in terms of the Copilot Plus PCs, which has got NPUs in there, and you've got AI built in. But again, as the world is becoming more and more infused with AI, your ability to have edge devices, whether it is drones, whether it is factory automation systems, AI will need to work at the edge. And our ability to manage that entire ecosystem end to end is the third part, I would say, which is Copilot plus devices. So those are the broad three areas: Copilot as a way in which you work, the work changes; Copilot stack as the way in which people can build their own Copilots; and then devices, which is about AI on the edge.
So definitely very interesting. And building your own co-pilots, basically building sort of, and for me, basically AI today is like assistants sitting, beside me, and I do a lot of my thinking, a lot of my strategy with that, co-pilot. So definitely, but if I can build my own, right, which actually is also interesting thing, that I can maybe fine tune it to my, thinking, because I'm thinking and writing, or I'm coding in a very, very static, it's like my style kind of stuff, right? So maybe I can build that It's a very interesting, first step maybe enterprises or people like us can think of, right? Because it just increases the productivity in a lot of ways, right? And the edge is very interesting because in India, where we have mobile phone in almost every person's hand, how
Yep.
do you make them more capable? With respect to capabilities, we have seen UPI, just transforming the payment here. How AI can do that for a lot of other things like commerce, for their, auto, maybe for their accounting and all those things is a very interesting, from India angle, at least I think is very, very interesting.
Absolutely. I think, and I think to your point, India, I mean, Nandan Nilekani has been quoted to say India is a use case capital of
Yeah, yeah,
AI
yeah.
for the world, right? And I think he's almost understating it, because I feel that in India, the potential for impact, uh, and you look at sectors which are very fundamental for India to leverage what we call a demographic dividend. Our
Hmm.
demographic dividend is going to impact the economy positively only if they have the right education and they are able to be healthy. Those are first
Yes,
thing. And food, I think
yes.
those becomes like the fundamental parts, right? And of course, there are many other sectors. I think in some of these areas, to your point, the ability to create a co-pilot that helps people be more effective. And I'll give you a couple of really interesting examples.
Hmm.
One example that we've been piloting in the state of Karnataka, called Shiksha Co-pilot. It's now getting, by the government of Karnataka, it's going to 1,000 schools. That's a co-pilot for a teacher. Now, our government school teachers are probably some of the most underserved people, because they teach students from very different grades, very often with very limited resources. And how do they make their classes relevant, interesting, engaging to students? This co-pilot helps a teacher create lesson plans for students contextualized to the local material. So, for example, you're teaching science, you can't suddenly, or you're teaching nutrition, you can't talk about nutrition with some nutrition meals, etc., which are somewhere in the West. It has to be relevant for Karnataka. It has to be relevant ragi mudde. It has to be something which the child can understand, right? So that ability to contextualize and make something that Shiksha Copilot available on a mobile platform, where a teacher is able to create the lesson plan in Kannada for the child, for their specific children in the class, and make it contextualized to that child's learning context, village context, language, tyohar, all of those things, right? That is what is empowerment. To me, those are the use cases that make it really, really impactful. And there are examples go on and on. Another one is where there is a way for people to get cataract surgery. You have basic questions. Can you just have basic questions answered in a way that the person, maybe an elderly person who's gotten a cataract surgery, can get relevant, verified answers, even crowdsourced, verified by the doctor, in a way that is empathetic and relevant. So it's the ability to really impact sectors of the economy that are going to be the way in which India will become the developed nation we all dream for, right? In ways that could not have been possible earlier.
No, definitely. I think accessibility through technology, and that's basically what you're trying to address, right? How do you make, things accessible to the last mile of our country, the last mile citizens of the country, where, through technology, they can access healthcare, basic things like healthcare, education, and of course, payment and commerce is something that we have seen
Yeah.
already. But healthcare, where, I was talking to someone, they're building something where, by scanning the eyes, they can actually tell what
Yep.
the kind of disease they might have. And that's a huge thing because
Yep.
I don't have access to a local doctor, but I'm getting access to the top class, consultation, because, the LLM has all the knowledge, right in my village. Is very, very interesting. And the same with education. There's some study has been done in US, not in India, but that people who are tutored by AI has jumped 2 more classes in, very, very quickly. And if I'm getting, instruction in Canada, I'm actually getting access to the top class education, but in my local language. That's actually very interesting. Yeah.
Now, Physics Wala is one of the startups, and of course, you're talking to startup community, right? Physics Wala is one of the startups that is changing the game of access to good tutoring for students who are aspiring. And there's some of the stories they share with me are just it's just super, super inspiring. Somebody, a worker during the night time is using that tutoring to prepare for some of the competitive exams, which would not have been, even thinkable before that, right? And they are able to do it. They're able to answer queries. They're able to provide that kind of tutoring, individualized guidance using AI. And I think to the other point that you were making, right? I think, see, at the end of the day, a technology's ability to impact lives is also dependent on the people's ability to adopt. And there we are very fortunate that in India, with the digital India stack that we've been on the journey for the almost 15 plus years now, we have actually, our population is quite tech savvy. You know, people
Yeah.
are with voice, people are, the adaptability, which is one of the reasons our CEO, Satya Nadella, he was here a couple of weeks back, you may have seen on the papers. I think that is one very interesting point that came out in his discussion with Nandan, that Indian populace, even from, Bharat, or whether, even small elderly people, they are become very tech savvy. So therefore, the ability to really make an impact, that ground has been covered.
Yes. No, no, definitely. And since you touched upon Satya was here like some weeks back, right? And he announced 3 billion investment. Tell us more about that, because that caught like attention of a lot of folks. So we'd love to hear more details about that.
Yeah, Satya is always very, very excited to come to India because he finds um, the type of innovation and impactful innovation that happens from India just very, very inspiring. And then he takes those stories to around the world. 2 years back, when he was here, and right after ChatGPT, the Jugalbandi work that he saw, he went and spoke about it at the World Economic Forum, and a very possible forum, right? Because he finds them
Yeah.
super, super inspiring. And same thing happened this time. We made, beyond the, the investment part that you talked about, we made some very important announcements, and those were about skilling people, more than 10 million people in AI skills by 2030, uh, signing some really strategic partnerships with across key sectors, organizations like Railtel, Apollo Hospitals, Bajaj Finserv, Mahindra Group, Upgrad, and also with the India AI mission. So the idea was to really partner with organizations that are building the country, that are really taking the country to the next level, to help infuse AI and accelerate that journey. So I'm very, very excited about beyond the 3 billion the investment you talked about in terms of AI and cloud infrastructure. I'm very excited about some of these partnerships. I'm excited about the skilling that Satya announced. I think the other one that was perhaps, with so many announcements, one of the things that we announced was a partnership that we are doing with Microsoft Research, partnering with a set of startups. And
Okay.
in fact, Physics Wala is one of the organization that we are working with on very specific research work, joint R&D. Of course, it's something that, it has to be a win-win for both sides. But to me, that is very unique way of bringing Microsoft's researchers, cutting edge innovation, with a startup that is willing to and interested in working at that level of innovation, in a joint partnership. So that was another very, very interesting partnership that was announced when Satya was here.
So definitely research is something that at least I find it little, I've come from a research, some ways had, I was doing my PhD at UCSD, and I find that research in India doesn't happen, and that's painful to me. And so hearing this is is just amazing. It delights me a lot that that you are looking at doing research in India with corporates who are interested. So definitely very interesting thing. Do you think now
So let me correct
yeah.
you on that one. Microsoft Research has been in India for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Sorry,
Microsoft
sorry.
Research,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been India for 20 years, right? What I was talking about, and then of course, there are Indian research ecosystem is a very vibrant ecosystem, and even though we don't talk about it as much, actually we should, because what I was talking about was a very specific partnership announcement that was made,
Mm-hmm.
wherein Microsoft Research will work with a select set of startups.
Got it.
Are
Got it.
looking to do joint R&D, and I gave the example of physics wala.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Now we are almost about time, so there are few questions audience has, but I have two questions. Do you think India can be a leader in AI, and do you think we can lead AI? I mean, from a not from adoption perspective, but like building perspective. Can we build AI which is like cutting edge for the global markets and for Indian markets, of course, also?
I would in fact turn it around to say we already are. I'll give you a few data points.
Okay.
One data point is that I think India in the next 2 years will become the largest developer ecosystem in the world. And that developer ecosystem is and will use AI.
Got it.
Second is the R&D actually from India is among the top in the world already in terms of research papers.
Got it.
In AI. The startup ecosystem, as I'm speaking to that community, we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world.
Got it.
Now, I think the point that you're making is also an important one. And in fact, I would say that while India is using and should be using AI to build better products, more innovations, all that we've been discussing, India does need to have grounds up R&D in the frontier of AI.
Yes.
And I think that is a point Satya also brought up. And I think India has an advantage of being in an environment that needs to think frugal, that needs to think rugged, that needs to think of corner cases like all you've been discussing, language, culture, use cases. India has an opportunity to rethink AI in some ways,
Got
not
it.
necessarily follow the same path. We will have to
Got
do
it.
both. But you see, we should not assume that the transformer architecture, what we are following, is the be all and end all.
Mm-hmm.
We all know there are positives and challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So India also has the opportunity of rethinking what the cutting edge frontier of AI means. And I engage a little bit in the quantum ecosystem in India. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because to me, the intellectual horsepower I see in that ecosystem gives me a lot of hope
Got it. Oh,
for the
great.
ability for India to really lead in the frontier of AI R&D.
No, I know this is very, very interesting to hear, and I don't know. I think maybe we should talk more about what's happening in research in R&D and in India, because at least it doesn't flow up. At least to at least to my knowledge, it hasn't flown up kind of stuff. But I do believe India can lead in AI. I do believe we can do cutting edge, and we are there globally, but in India we can do cutting edge also, and those kinds of. Now, final question for me before I take questions from audience. What can we expect in 2025 from Microsoft? What, like, one or two things that you want to highlight that we can expect uh, for whatever outcomes, business outcomes, and those kind of stuff?
I think, I mean, I would say that, we are now in an age where AI is becoming more and more mainstream. In fact, if I give you some data, right, AI usage in India has jumped from 63% to 72% in 2024. Okay. And the people who are using it for productivity, for functional use cases, which is exceeding actually global averages. So I think the adoption and moving of AI from promise to proof, I think that is going to be the year of really delivering on that. And I think that's going to be a journey. Of course, the second one that you touched upon a little bit about agentic AI, of course. And I think the agentic AI is again a journey that is just starting out. But we will also realize where agentic AI is really, really needed and where you need human in the loop.
Yes. Yes.
So I think that flow will play itself out. I think the last one I would say is the point that you made about really Indian specific use cases, innovations. I'm hoping that may not be a prediction, but it's a hope that in India 2025 will be a year where India really takes that lead in innovations in AI.
No, definitely. That's something even I wish a lot. But we'll see that. I think we will. I am also very, very positive that in 2025 we will come very full blast into AI from lot of different angles. Now to quick questions I'll take from audience. So one is, should we be worried about proposed US restriction on AI chip exports to India? It's a bit political, but I don't know if you want to take it. Uh, uh, the US has restricted some
I
AI
would
chip.
not comment on that right now.
Sure,
It's
sure.
very early days.
No,
Yeah.
no, this, yeah, definitely. Uh, Another one is Microsoft Azure is quite expensive for small enterprises, so they might prefer some low budget alternatives. What support is being given to such enterprises in terms of pricing? So it's a more pricing question around Azure. I didn't want to take it, or we can skip that. It's not relevant.
I think while you figure out what are the question, yeah, I would say that, see, I think the way in which one needs to think about, and I'm not saying that cost is not a factor. I think the point one needs to understand is, and Debdoot talked a little bit about it, right? I think the point is that you need to figure out the business problem that you're looking to solve. And then when you're looking to scale, you will scale it in a way with fine tuning, with very specific customizations that then allow you to manage the cost at scale.
Got
So,
it.
of
Got
course,
it.
as a company, we are working. And by the way, cost of some of these models pricing, okay, in the last just 6 months, 6 months to 8 months, have fallen. The cost has fallen down some almost close to more than 10x.
Yes, yes, yes,
Right.
definitely,
So,
definitely.
so what we are seeing, right, is a trend where the capabilities will keep increasing, the cost will keep decreasing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then finally, I would say, look, at the end of the day, our job, our business, we are here to help startups. We are here to help companies scale. So if you are working on something that is that compelling problem statement, come, let's work together. We'll find a way for it to make it work for you. That's our job. We are not here to sort of just give one pricing. It's a question of saying what makes it work for you, and then we work with startups or every day.
Yes, yes, yes. No, definitely. Azure for startups, I think, is a very interesting, initiative that Microsoft has. So definitely, they are very,
Founders
very
Hub is the right is
founders
the
up,
name, but
founders up. Yeah,
Founders Hub,
sorry,
yeah. But
founders up.
again, it's not just a credits program. It's actually a mentorship. It's a whole range of
Yes,
benefits in terms of productivity tools, GitHub. So it is much more than just Azure credits. And then it grows with the startup. As the startup grows, it grows with you. And then as you are growing, come to us. We'll find the right way in which it works for you. I mean, that's what we are here for.
sure, sure, definitely, definitely. Thank you, Dr. Rohini. I really enjoyed talking to you
Thank you.
because we talked about a lot about accessibility to technology, and AI can play a very, very important role in how we can make get this the technology becoming the enabler for a lot of the productivity boost, revenue boost, or the livelihood boost for these last mile of citizens that we have. So definitely thank you for that, and once again from everyone I want to thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Really
Thank you
enjoyed.
very much. Good
Yeah.
that you are doing this. I think we should do more. And people will need to understand that this is a technology you really, it's not just technology, it's a game-changing capability and platform shift that one needs to be very aware of
Yes.
and leverage. Thank you.
No, definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. So now we move to the next speaker. We have Dr. Pankaj here, and when I first talked to Dr. Pankaj and he told me about what they're doing in GEM, I said, "Oh wow! I never expected that organization like GEM would be taking AI so early, kind of stuff. Maybe it fault at my end, but it's just mind-boggling when I heard Dr. Pankaj talking about how they're leveraging AI in GEM. Now, give you a little background of Dr. Pankaj. Right, he basically is a CTO of Government E-Marketplace. It's a GEM, right? I think GEM does about $50 billion of digital procurement for through the platform. So it's huge. It's like massive when you think about maybe more than like we think about Amazon is basically more than that in some ways and stuff, right? So it's huge uh, procurement business, which government procures, that happens through GEM. He's an alumnus of IIT New Delhi. So again, comes from IIT background. holds MTech and PhD in computer science. So very, very, I would say, accomplished, from a background perspective, right? And doing leading AI at GEM right now. All the efforts at AI. Of course, he's the CTO of GEM. So of course, automatically falls under him. Now, Dr. Pankaj, I want to welcome you to this MiniCon.
Thank you, Manoj.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we had last chatted, it was very interesting to hear what you're doing in AI. Do you want to highlight some of the things, how you're leveraging AI in GEM?
Yeah, sure.
Start, yeah.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and it's great to be here. And you've got a huge audience who are listening on. So let me quickly start by describing very briefly what government e-marketplace is. It was the brainchild of the Prime Minister about 6, 7 years back. He wanted transparency, inclusivity, and as much of as participation, not from the big businesses, but all the small and medium players. And the whole thing was digitized and transformed. Earlier, there used to be, tenders from the states, from the ministries, etc., which were visible to only, sort of a coterie or a small audience who knew that what's, going on, or who had access to the inside offices. Putting it out there in the public place meant if a tender was getting published from a ministry in Delhi, somebody in Nagaland, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, even Kashmir could see that. And if he had the acumen, he could participate. And if the technicals and the prices worked out right, he would also win that. So in the past years, we've grown exponentially. We did $60 billion worth of business, $48 billion last year. This year, we are planning to do 60 billion.
Wow, that's
And prior
amazing.
to that, we had done about 33 billion. So we've been almost, doubling our GMV every year. To give a simpler explanation to this, to the general people around, we are a sort of an Amazon for the government. We
Got
do
it.
the procurement for G2B. So all the government departments, whether they are central ministries, the state governments, or cooperatives, or public sector enterprises, like the big corporations, HPCL, BPCL, IOC, the Indian Railways, the Ministry of Defense, they all come to our portal, they publish the tenders, and the sellers bid for that, and they procure that. It's not only for tenders. We have a very, throbbing marketplace where we have products where you can simply do click and check out just like any other Flipkart or Amazon or Walmart, and the goods will be delivered based on the POs placed and the payments that happen. So that was a brief about this. The important part is that I was talking about the SMEs and MSMEs. They corner almost 40% of our business. So that means we have ensured participation of the smaller and medium businesses who probably did not have access prior to the digitization of this platform. And another important aspect I want to highlight is the aspect that every procurement that takes place, and these are studies by the academia and the ISBs and the business schools, which they have done, that every procurement results in a 10%, about 9 to 10% saving to the government. So in the last 6, 7 years, we've enabled about $120 billion worth of procurement, digitized procurement through our platform. So that's nearly $12 billion worth of saving to the Indian taxpayer. So
Wow.
that's the business aspect of the case. Coming to the technology. So since we're talking about AI, we've since the time I've come, I've looked at all the use cases that we can use to enrich and to use to our benefit the powers of AI, right? So the first thing we've done is we've already deployed a Gen AI based chatbot on our platform. And we have used the LLMs, we have used the RAGs, and it's completely focused on GEM. Any user can come and type and get a response, GEM focused only, right? And the good thing, or it's such a throbbing domain right now, AI. What we did year back is now already feeling outdated, right?
Yeah.
So when I say we've deployed an AI chatbot, now there are agents which do that work.
Yeah.
So I already have to think, why do I have to use the entire LLM for doing just this part of the work? So
Mm-hmm.
now we have to look for, the next stage of evolution and try to get an agent just to do this. We have a huge database and it's very rich. It's rich with the users' information.
Mm-hmm.
Users from the public sector, that's the government, users from the private sector, that are the sellers. And we have business transaction information of the last 6, 7 years, which we need to crunch. We were doing that traditionally using, databases and queries and rigging up data warehouses and data lakes
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
running the nightly batches and reports to get, some intelligence in the morning or maybe after a few days, depending on how big or complex the query was, how
Mm-hmm.
many tables you involve. We are trying to now, the next use case is to use AI for the benefit of our leadership. So
Mm-hmm.
things like business cockpit,
Mm-hmm.
and which can happen through just conversational information.
Got
So
it.
conversational BI and BA is something which is already been tested in some places. There are issues around, the complexity of data that we have. And obviously, with any IT system, the more enriched and clean data you have, the better output you'll get. So
Got it.
that's the next example we are working on. That's for the leadership and for the business strategy, creation for GEM itself. But coming to the user side, so the first use case that we already deployed was the chatbot, but we
Mm-hmm.
have a roadmap for that. What we are doing is that we will be trying to further, firstly, supplement the customer service and customer support. And later on, when it matures and it's fully geared up, we can completely replace the help desks and, customer centers with the automated AI. Now,
Got it.
whenever you use these terms, obviously the question about human resource and the human capital, which is
Mm-hmm.
a very sensitive and emotional subject, comes around. So we never use the word replace. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying we will augment it and we'll
Mm-hmm.
supplement it. And maybe at the right time, probably upskill our resources to use the AI that we are trying to use also. So we have a roadmap for that. The second roadmap I talked about was, using the huge data for our own strategies and intelligence. The next roadmap we have is development. So we are already on AWS cloud and we are using the Bedrock, and we have the access to the queue and quick site. On the other side, so not depending on just one AI model, we have partnered with Microsoft or GitHub, and we are
Mm-hmm.
getting Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
Copilot, we have intention of we have already integrating it with our systems, and that is for again two purposes. One is to learn what the existing code is all about, improve that. The second use case is because we are developing a new platform side by side, is to help in coding. So now the industry is coming out with various figures, like Infosys, TCS, and all the big IT companies. They already are using this for their source code writing. There are figures like 30%, 40%, 50% efficiency. And just a few days back, you heard Mark Zuckerberg, who said, the complete middleware, sorry, the middle layer
Mm-hmm.
of software engineering might be at risk because of the capabilities that they're developing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not going that far, but at least for our current source code, understanding what it can do better, plus developing new code, we are trying to use the powers of AI. And the next use cases that we have is, once we have the new system up, we have various activities which happen on the portal, like creation of a bid, participation in a bid. Bid creation is done by the buyer and the seller does the participation. So when these transactions happen, someone wins and there are many who lose out. So we want to provide whatever information we can in an automated way and make it available to the users so that probably they can do their tendering better, both from the creation side as well as from the participation side. For example, if I participated in a tender, if I'm a buyer and I want to create a tender, right? Now my profile is there in the system and they know what kind of domain I belong to. Let's say I'm from the Ministry of Defense and we know, the X, Y, Z items that we procure. And there are tenders already in the system. When I say, okay, now I want to create a tender for item X. So the system should be able to already generate that complete tender with all the terms and conditions that are, general for me. and maybe ask me to just check it or make a few changes or items, and then it should be published. So the system should be able to do that. On the participation side, let's suppose 10 people participate, but only one wins. I should be able to generate that intelligence from the participation and give that feedback back to the users. Look, you probably missed out by maybe 2% of the cost, or you missed out by a certain X amount of technical shortcomings in the product that you offered or in the services you offered. Now, these are the kinds of advantages and powers of AI that we use, or what we want to use. Prescriptive analytics, it can prescribe to users. Descriptive analytics, that will be for internal use of GEM, and recommendations to the users as to, look, you bought these kinds of things, maybe you'd like to buy these additional, or you bought these items at this price, maybe you'd like to look at this kind of a model which gives you the same service but at a better price point. So we want to use AI for the purposes of understanding the data, which a human or a set of team would take much longer to understand and come out, whereas AI with its capabilities could do that, provided the model has been crafted and curated properly. And now with agents, probably you'll have a different agent for BI, different agents for customer service, different agents for analytics or reports and dashboards or business cockpit. So the future is very exciting. The domain comes up with new inputs and understandings every day, and it's great to be here.
No, great to hear from you and hear that so many things are happening that you're doing in AI. And people like us, forgive me for being blunt, but we somehow think government is not very tech savvy and those kind of stuff, right? So it's good to hear that and good to hear that AI is one of the top. You're using AI for at multiple places so that businesses can become better. Those MSMEs and sellers and that's basically also interesting that you're saying that the transparency of the data, like you missed by 2%, was something I think was missing previously, and now you're giving it kind of stuff, right? So that just tells a lot about how you're leveraging technology kind of stuff. Now quick question for me, like, how is government, if I have to get a visibility behind you and say, how is the government thinking about AI, and how is that coming into picture here? Is it something that you want to tell, so that we can probably benefit from what's happening?
So see, the government on its own side, we are of course a special purpose vehicle. That's we are a Section 8 company with its own CEO and board of directors.
Got it.
But if you go one level above, you come to the ministry levels, and you would have heard about the AI missions.
Got it.
The government is leading, right?
Yes.
So that's just under the Ministry of IT, Information and Technology, and they have these various programs which they are running. So there's a GPU program in which they are calling for private players to come and offer the power of compute, which AI startups would need, and make it available to those AI startups for using. Instead of going out and paying more, maybe somewhere else, government wants to prepare that infrastructure and provide it to the startups, whoever want to use AI. That's one. The other is the AI mission, where the startups are being encouraged to come up with ideas, and government provides a startup runway with the some help like funding or enabling industry participation, so that the developers and the industry who wants to use them can meet at the same places, right? Now, besides that, you would have also heard of a lot of work which is happening on India-centric data collection. Government is very focused on that also, because the current models, whether you call them LLMs or these SLMs, they're all focused on data that's been gleaned from the rest of the world, the Western world, or others, which is not centric or focused and customized towards use cases for the Indian demography and the Indian geography. We are creating and enabling those people to collect data. So we also are participating in that program of providing data, which is all India-based, that can probably be used to create models for only the demography and geography of India. So these, like I mentioned, the GPU enablement, the infrastructure provision, the startup enablement, the AI mission, creating language models, or the data sourcing, which is based on our geography and demographics. These are the programs which government is pushing so that we can get more and more, power of AI into our, governance, as well as in the uh, wherever the government is.
Got it. So you talked about like technology, right? So do you, for example, do you work with startups outside ecosystem? Do you work with them together on this AI thing? I mean, how do you build a team of AI? Given that some AI talent, they may say that this is a government organization. How do I mean, do you see that those practical challenges coming here? And so the two questions basically: how do you work with startups, and are there practical challenges of getting talent in a government? Because some people might be interested because you're doing some very, very interesting work, right? So coming from that angle.
Yeah, so Manoj, you hit a very raw nerve, because getting a team to do that work has been the most challenging part. So currently what I've done is we've been working with our IT partners, and like I mentioned, we've used the LLMs which are already existing, and we use whatever capability they offer, and I try to use it to the best for our particular use case. AI talent hiring, firstly discovery and then hiring, are very challenging. Not only for, see, GEM is a very small company, just about 200 people, um, but even for the IT majors that we work with, even for them, because there is so much of huge organizational inertia that they're not able to create the right teams for the particular development cases that we provide.
Got it.
That's a big challenge. What I try to do is, and how I try to do is, whatever is available, try and customize that for my requirement, and then move forward. As we go, when we have something working, people will come and join, and maybe we will be able to progress to the next levels. So first is try to use whatever is there and not get bogged down by what is not there, and do something, deploy something, and then keep improving on that. And obviously have roadmaps also. So talent is a major aspect. Creation of a team within GEM, also with our partners, is a major challenge that we are facing. But we talk to startups. We've been talking to a couple of companies, and right now, you see, because this is such a fastly anybody, whatever he comes and tells me today, I find a better solution tomorrow, right? Or
Yeah.
there's a third startup says, I can do it in a better way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are on very, very fastly shifting ground.
Yes. Yes.
And to be able to finally say, okay, I'll work with this person, but then tomorrow I might find myself, is that solution right? Or did I, do a mistake by signing up that person, whereas there's a better solution available there. So we are in, challenging times either way.
No, definitely. AI is changing so fast that,
Yeah.
what you do tomorrow, yesterday, just becomes irrelevant today. And
Yeah.
so
Because
definitely that's it.
a year back, there were no agents, right? And now you have agents. So what
Yeah.
I'm using an LLM for can be done by an agent.
Agent. Yes.
And
Yes.
then
Yes.
there are the large action models, which you would have heard of. And then there is the SLMs. These are all evolutions. And as we speak, in case coding is going to be done right from bottom upwards to the middle layer, then, there's going to be a drastic changes going forward.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
you will
Yes.
not be having somebody to talk to and say, okay, can I make these changes to the, can you make these changes to the code? You'll be
Yeah.
talking to a machine.
Machine.
Right?
Yes. 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 No,
So,
we have started doing that in our organization. And, a lot of our coding actually happens by LLMs and open AIs of the world kind of stuff. So coming to very, very a lot of people ask me, and security is one of the things that when AI and they think that AI is not very secure, and because you don't know what your AI is doing in a lot of ways, right? If I'm talking to a chatbot, how much access does it have to the information? Like, can some hacker use the chatbot to get access to the data, which shouldn't be exposed? have you seen that as challenge, in when you're building this AI? Because government, I'm assuming, of course, security is one of the biggest, uh, top of the head for a lot of folks. Yes.
Yes. If you'll remember the first in 2023 itself, somebody came out with a some use case and put it out in the public domain and asked about some sensitive questions about senior leaders of the country,
Mm-hmm.
and the LLM or whatever the product was, it hallucinated and gave very politically incorrect or
Mm-hmm.
insensitive responses.
Yes. Yes.
Keeping that example in mind, what we did was we focused the entire LLM onto just the RAG, that is the knowledge base we created. So
Mm-hmm.
what we have done is we have curated a knowledge base where it'll pick up the knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
responses and only use the LLM for the the language part of it.
Translation.
The
Yeah.
knowledge will be picked up from somewhere else, and the English or the natural language capabilities will be picked up from somewhere else.
Yes. Yes.
That we have done as of now to restrict that. Also, secondly, we have right now got the use cases where you do not have any post-login access to our databases. So it's a generic query machine, and there is no post-login capabilities. However, in the roadmap, we have that as one of the use cases where can I provide post-login access to the user and then query the database for more intelligent questions, which will
Got it.
then probably come back from the database. For example, what tenders did I participate in? And what was my price point in the last 6 months? Has it been going up or going down? Or even giving him intelligence on other similar tenders happening in the particular domain. But these are, we are very sensitive about that. We keep security in mind, and we will go, step by step, but with, we'll take that with a lot of care and also learn from the rest of the environment what they're doing and ensure that, we don't fall into any traps like that.
Got it. I'll take few questions. We're almost time here, but I'll take like a couple of questions.
Yeah.
There's a question about how does GEM empowers MSMEs, startups, and women entrepreneurs to participate in public procurement? Uh, uh, should I read all the questions and then maybe we can answer? How
No,
does Sure,
I'll take this one, of course.
sure.
So SMEs and MSMEs, by way of the Ministry of SMEs guidelines, they are given preferences in certain categories of tenders. They are also exempt from certain formalities like giving EMDs or bank guarantees. So these are the kinds of enablement we provide. There's a separate program called Womania, which is focused on women entrepreneurs. So all this information is available on our portal. They can go there. How SMEs or MSMEs are enabled, you can ask our chatbot itself, the GEM AI, as to what are the benefits, and the chatbot itself will answer these queries. The
got it.
chatbot will answer about the Womania program also. And even for startups, there's a startup runway. If you ask the chatbot, that will be able to answer about the startup runway also. And not only that, it will also tell you how to participate in that also.
Got it. Got it. Just one last question. How does GEM ensure that it's not related to AI, but I'll just speak, I still ask you, how does GEM ensures that its platform is accessible to neurodivergent individuals such as with autism, ADHD, or dyslexia, both as employees managing the platform as users? Do you want to answer that? I know.
Yeah, so you see, for these, we are following the government guidelines. We
Mm-hmm.
follow the GIGW.
Okay.
And whatever the accessibility conditions which are provided by the government, we are compliant to those.
Got it. Got it. Great. We are almost there with the time, but thank you, Dr. Pankaj, for coming here. Really enjoyed, and it's always interesting to hear, how AI are being adopted at different enterprises. And, I would say government-centric enterprise like GEM, I think it's very interesting to hear that. Very positive about how you're building it. I will definitely follow what you're doing because I find it very interesting. But once again, thank you for coming here. Anything you want to say as a parting thing or? Uh,
Thank you, Manoj, for having me. And lately, we have just enabled the voice part on our chatbot. So
okay,
you can
okay,
go, you can click on the mic button, you can talk, and you can ask queries just verbally. So that's one of the advantages that you just talked about, the disadvantaged users.
Got it. Got it.
Thank you
Got
very
it.
much for having me. We are in very exciting times. I'm
Yes.
sure
Yes.
by the time we speak next, there'll be so many tumultuous changes in the
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and
No,
thank you very
definitely.
much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pankaj. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye. Have a great weekend. Yeah, now we switch to interesting dimension, which is capital dimension. And I have with me here two very exemplary, I would say, investors, VCs. Rahul, Rahul and I have been a friend, and I've known Rahul since very more than 10 years now. I think Rahul 12 years. So
Even more.
more, yes. He was at Helion before, and now then he started his, I think, his own fund, Stellaris, and it's 600 billion. You just raised 300 million, right? So, and I think
Yes.
total is 600 million. So, so he's a partner. Rahul is a partner at Stellaris. Amazing background, with investors in companies like Mama. Congrats on that IPO, Rahul. And alumnus of IIT Kanpur. I am Calcutta. uh, lot a lot to say about his background. Would welcome you here, Rahul. I'm eager to
Thank
hear
you.
from you about AI and a lot of other stuff. And then I have Poorvi here from another fund, Elevation Capital. She's VP, Vice President at Elevation Capital. Elevation Capital, $1 billion AUM. Poorvi, I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe more than that.
multi-billion.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. She's alumnus of IIT Guwahati, HBS, Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. And she's looking at a lot of AI at Elevation. So Poorvi, look forward to hearing from you also about AI and a lot of stuff. Let me start with Rahul. Rahul, what are you looking at? What's the thesis on AI? Uh, uh,
The interesting part about anything new is that you can build whatever thesis you want. Founders surprise you 5 years
uh-huh,
later on
uh-huh,
what ends up coming, because our current lens is colored by what we see around us and incremental or some level of changes on top of that.
mm-hmm,
But I don't think when internet got started, people had imagined what it can do, mobile, cloud, and this is like one more of similar innovation that is happening as we speak.
mm-hmm,
So we all know a lot will change. Very hard to predict what all will change. Whatever I share, as I said, more colored by my current lens, or
mm-hmm,
what I see around me. Uh, and there, at least, we've been quite bullish. As in, even before generative AI started, we have been bullish on AI in general.
mm-hmm,
So from our first fund itself, we invested in several companies like LimeChat and Sciency that some people might be aware of.
mm-hmm,
Uh, but a few years back, the focus on AI did increase for us.
mm-hmm,
And lot is happening on the enterprise AI side. So that is, our main focus has been more around application built on top of existing models,
mm-hmm,
or training those models and using them, and not as much on the infra side, building models. Uh, and of late, we have been also bullish on the consumer side of AI, which I hope more founders will build businesses in. Uh, at a very high level, thesis idea is that anything which is digital can and will get disrupted, especially around the consumer side. Content businesses will get disrupted. We invested in a company called Dashtun about 3 years back, even before OpenAI got released, which is building webcomics using generative AI now for consumers in US and Europe. Similarly, anything in health, education, recruitment, financial services. Like, I can go industry after industry on why whatever is digital is possible to get disrupted. Even experiences like religion, astrology, which are very unique to India. Uh, there is a possibility of either making it AI assisted or pure AI led on the supply side. Uh, and I can go on the enterprise side, but happy to go deeper. Just a summary of where we are bullish and been investing in.
Sure. No, definitely very interesting. Poorvi, same question to you.
No, thanks. I think, Manoj, I always say that, as obviously I have much, much lesser experience as compared to Rahul in investing. But essentially, I always say this to everyone that, hey, if I was investing in the internet era, I would have invested. If I was investing in the cloud era, I would have invested. Thankfully, I'm investing in the AI era, which is as big of an inflection point for technology. So very grateful. I'm a huge believer right now. It's changing a complete category of things that we look at. Where we have been investing, I think very like in some ways similar to what Rahul mentioned. I think we've not invested as much on the model layer. Though, like I think again, we've been investing in AI before Gen AI sort of became a buzz. We are investors in Murph.ai, which is a text-to-speech voice AI company. They build their own models. But the reason that we invested in was not because they build their own models, but because it was a phenomenal voice AI text-to-speech company and completely disrupting that space. I think the second one was NanoNets in the document extraction space. Again, very AI native first company, again, was started before Gen AI became a buzz. So we've been investing in AI. And when Gen AI came about, we obviously got very, very excited that, hey, now there are categories that new unlocks that can happen, right? So I think the way we thought about Gen AI was twofold. One is, there will be certain SaaS companies that will take an AI face to it now because AI obviously augments it. And the second part would be that, hey, there are net new unlocks altogether. Things that were not possible today will be possible because of generative AI. And in those cases, we have invested in a couple of companies in the last, last year as well. Two are infrastructure companies. One is called as Unify Apps. It's a very, very interesting company. What they do is that, hey, for any enterprise company, and I'll take a more B2B lens to it because I do more B2B SaaS and AI.
Sure.
I don't look at consumer as much, but very interesting things happening there. But what that company does is that, hey, every enterprise has so much data, right? And to build AI, first of all, that data silos need to be broken. You need to bring all of that data in a texture that it can be used, and then you can do all the agent stuff, low code, no code, building applications, etc. So that's a pure platform company. The second one is that, hey, once you've built an agent, how do you evaluate it? How do you test it, whether it's working or not? Is the latency right? Is the reliability there? Then there's a company called as Maxim AI. Then there are two more companies that are going to be announced at some point. But essentially, the thesis there is that, hey, now we are not only targeting the software budgets, we are also targeting the labor spends. And that unlocks the TAM a lot, right? So anything that was where essentially a lot of BPO spends were going, a lot of KPO spends were going. Are there places where we can automate and truly bring in automation and where we can make decisions faster, cheaper, that can be increased, etc. So there are, that comes in fraud, risk, that comes in healthcare, that comes in a bunch of other places. So we're actively seeking investments there as well, where it's obvious that will happen. But how do you understand the workflows very deeply and the texture of founders that we're seeking there is that, hey, no, people obviously understand AI, but you really deeply need to understand, what those workflows are. So I have a very, very deep content depth there. So I think the other last part from a thesis perspective is that, hey, we still actively think about an AI, an India advantage. That investing out of India in global AI companies are there founders, places, spaces where we can truly think about, can this company leverage the India advantage in some way or the other? While we invest in global companies, a lot of founders are already in the US. People who are not there are moving there. But can there be a team built here? Can there be advantage that you can actually seek from this ecosystem? So these are, overall places like, vertical AI, very deep workflows. The second one is just these India advantage, angle that we look at. And that as a part of that, we also look at AI services that, hey, if a new industry needs to be created today, what would that look like? So these are just very top of the mind angles that we are looking at.
Oh, definitely interesting. A bunch of companies that you invested. I know a lot of these companies. Murph is, of course, NanoNuts. Then you talked about Unify Apps, Composio, Maxim, right? That those are the companies. Definitely a very wide portfolio of AI. Very interesting. Now, I have these questions, which personally, it comes to my mind is, and I've heard that I was at a the annual dinner by a fund, and someone was saying that he came from US, and he said that in San Francisco things move in hours, in Palo Alto it moves in days, in India things move in months. we are like sleeping in AI. We're not yet woken up. So there's a lot of things happening in US. One out of two companies are getting funded in AI. One out of three globally are AI. Is that happening in India? Rahul, question to you. I mean, do you see a lot of AI companies coming to you for funding? What's the kind of deal flow? What's the quality of these companies? And same question to Poorvi after that. Yeah.
Sure. No, so I think, see, I would say today on the B2B software side, I don't think we have diligenced a company which is not an AI company. I think almost 100% of deal flow is AI-led software businesses.
Wow.
That is very clear. Even our fund two, where we have invested in 25 companies, we are doing the math, about 25% of the portfolio, about 5 or 6 companies are native AI companies.
Got it.
So it's not just now, it has been happening over the last few, couple of years. Clearly, it has happened. At the same time, the statement is very interesting because by its nature, a lot of this will be globally competitive products that you're building. And if you're not at the cutting edge, while you can say I went from 0 to 1 million, 3 million ARR, by this time a similar company in US would have reached a 10 or $50 million ARR.
Yes.
So I think we are, it is no longer a game of saying I'll be cheaper than somebody, and because I have a product or a development cost advantage or a sales cost advantage, I am actually with same revenue, I'll be more profitable by being cheaper. All that argument doesn't hold true anymore. So that is where I think Indian founders or Indian companies have to be very careful of that, whatever you're thinking now, 10 other founders in US have already thought about it.
Yes.
And then how do you compete on some of these newer kind of products that you're building? Because it is not new, it is something that people have thought about it already. So that is one thing that people need to be careful of. But I think in terms of deal flow, we are clearly seeing a lot, all, as I said, software side deal flow is AI. Consumer side is still not there. And I'm hoping that we are starting to see, I'm hoping that more and more businesses will get, or more and more founders will build companies which are, native AI and consumer first businesses.
Got it. Yeah. Poorvi, to you.
Yeah, so again, I think very interesting statement. I don't think we're sleeping as an ecosystem for sure. I think that's stretching it too far. But I think similar to what Rahul mentioned, right? I think as an ecosystem, the maturity is getting there. But there's one thing that I do feel strongly about, which is in our favor, that unlike the SaaS ecosystem, right, where we definitely started very late. Like I think the first unicorn in the US was Salesforce in 2000s, like very early 2000, and for us it was Freshworks, almost 15 years after that. I think in AI, we're almost starting at the same point. If not 15 years, maybe like 2-3 years late. But like I think the ecosystem has understood what AI is. The information is all around there. The research papers, everyone's reading those. So I don't think we have, just from an ecosystem perspective, I don't think we have information problem anymore, which was definitely, and obviously because of SaaS, the ecosystem matured, B2B selling and all of those things have matured. So I do feel excited about that we really have a good room to play if we can work hard and get there. So I think sleeping is a far stretch statement. That's number one. The
Yeah,
second
definitely.
one, I think the second one is it's competitive, right? At the end of the day, it's super competitive. And there are founders who come to us, and I think 100%, especially because I only look at B2B SaaS, and 100% of my deal flow is AI, and it's immense. The deal flow is immense. So there are founders who are starting companies. There are a lot of very, very young founders who are getting excited about AI. They're trying to build products. I think what we really need to do a better job at is just the go-to market, really understanding what it takes to build a business, not just a product. And I think that's the differentiation that the ecosystem can probably help a little bit today. But truly, how do you think about that company as a global business from day one? How do you sell? How do you market? How do you position yourself? How do you hire? And all of those things become very important. And I think sometimes I do feel a little bad in some cases where there are very young founders, super sharp techies. They've built a very interesting idea, very interesting product, a high quality, robust product. But they've never been in the ecosystem where they've sold something, and that takes time. So hopefully, as an ecosystem, we can help them, and they will get there. I'm quite excited. Probably at least a few companies will come out and who will be able to cross that chasm. But we need to be very careful about what's happening globally, which I do think, like, people are careful about it and they're working very hard. I think starting from India just gives them a little bit more room to experimentate, do a little bit more experimentation. I don't think there's any other leverage that they can have more than that.
So you touched upon a very interesting thing, which is GTM. For a lot of what you're doing is actually, the GTM is US market and those kind of stuff. Rahul, question to me in that relation is that do you think India as a market, AI market is there? I mean, do you see a lot of companies where they're targeting market as India and not outside of India?
So on software side, at least our big focus has been mostly US market, except the BFSI segment where at least we feel in India also you can build a large company. Uh, but that is more, our limitation of what we can imagine for India. But otherwise, yes, there are a lot of people targeting, like I just came out of a meeting from a founder targeting AI in manufacturing, for example, right? And that is core market is India, for example, out there. So there are businesses being built where they are saying in the B2B side also, where India is a market. Consumer is mostly like, I would say more or less India only. So yeah, I like both the sides we are seeing at least deal flow wise, a lot of businesses targeting India.
Okay. Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
hear because, usually we would assume sitting here that, a lot of these companies, because AI basically is sort of, is around human market, and human market, the cost arbitrage is very much higher in US where, the services and those kind of stuff is, you can
What I make one comment, Manoj, is that there is an advantage where we are seeing services and product kind of getting in some sense, from one side it is no longer a product, on other side it is no longer a service.
Yeah.
So AI-led services, right, is something that India has a big advantage.
Yeah.
Now it may not be India as a market, but you can take it to global markets. Like BPO and all has been very standard, more repetitive. It is very obvious. But let's say for testing, India is the
Yeah.
hub of global,
Yeah.
software testing.
Yes.
Can you build an AI-led testing some company from India? So those are other places where we have the know-how, we have the GTM capability from India for the global testing market as an example, where AI can play an interesting role, where you're still providing the service, but it is AI-led and hence your gross margins are much better.
Got it. Poorvi, the question.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, I think I'll just build on what Rahul said. I think all of us have been seeing the entire Palantir model take to shape now, right? Like people thought about that company very differently a couple of years back, but now this entire forward deployed engineer has taken shape, and fundamentally it's this product led, essentially a service led product company that, hey, we'll tell, like, we have all the platform, and now we'll come to you and then build the use case that you need. And I think from what we hear from all the enterprise, and I think the other part to it is just the Accenture, where they have again started to see so much adoption of AI on very similar model that, hey, today, even though every enterprise wants to adopt something in AI, they just don't know how to, right? And there are so much bespoke point solutions and they don't know how to chain them, pipeline them. So they need someone to come in and then tell them that, okay, this is a platform, this is how we will do it, and we'll give you an outcome, we will give you a full solution. So this entire product plus service is a very, very interesting idea and a way to build a business, especially if you're selling to enterprises. Historically, also that has happened, right? If you look at an Innovator, if you look at an iCertis coming from India, they did have a lot of implementation ecosystems around it, not fully services, but ecosystems of implementation. And in AI, actually, that becomes super important, especially when we are so early and nascent in our journey. So that model is very exciting for sure. And if you're selling to enterprises, I think that's the way to go.
No, definitely. I think, when I was at Nexus, so when we used to look at services businesses, we said, no, the services are not scalable.
I think, correct.
Yeah.
And the same, I think 2 years back, I would not even look at a service business, and right now I'm so excited about how services business, because even to, like, for me personally, I think a huge learning has been that if you want to look at a product plus service model, you need to fundamentally understand the services P&L really well for it to actually, how do you actually optimize it and bring it to a product plus service model. And I think even founders who are building a product plus service company, they really need to understand that service P&L well before dabbling there.
Definitely, very interesting era. That services coming ahead. Service as a software. Just coming with the service becomes the front end and those kinds of. It's a very interesting era. Rahul, coming to, I talked about GTM, but talent is also one of the you know things a lot of startups struggle, and AI is such a rapidly scaling and rapidly changing ecosystem. Have you seen your company struggling with talent in India? I mean, getting the right talent for AI and those kinds of stuff, because people are saying now AI agent engineers and those kinds of stuff are needed more than anything else. Anything on the talent?
So it is not easy, as in
Mhm.
to get your top AI expert, somebody who's played around with models, understand. So I think all of us are learning as we go, but at least, and I don't look at the software part of the, sector within Stellaris.
Mhm.
What I've heard is that it is not as if in US also that talent is widely available. So that is
Got
a
it.
generic problem across the globe. Clearly, because you are more closer to foundation companies out there, you
Mhm.
might have a better sense of what is coming up next.
Mhm.
But your ability to play with these models, I think, is limited, and people are learning as we speak right now.
Mhm.
Which
Mhm.
also gives an opportunity to India, because to the point we was making, it is available to everybody at the same time, to a
Mhm.
US engineer as well as an Indian engineer. And we have been traditionally very strong on the data science side. So
Mhm.
hopefully, as people, as they're seeing opportunity in this segment, more and more people will come up. Today, like ideally, one of the co-founders better take up that mantle versus trying to find the lead AI engineer, which is always a tall task for a young company.
Purvi, what's your thoughts on? Are you seeing the same issue?
Yeah, honestly, nothing new to add. I think
Mm,
it's very,
mm.
very similar. I think the
Yes.
only thing to add there is that probably 5, 7 years back, when data science and ML sort of started taking shape, at that point in time, we would hear exactly the same thing about ML engineers, data science engineers, very difficult to find high quality talent. And then all of us have seen that ecosystem mature. So hopefully the same thing will happen with AI, that right now we are not there, it's super difficult. But probably in the coming years, as more and more companies get built, people, upskill themselves. Hopefully, we'll be able to see that talent a lot.
Great. We're almost coming at the closer to time, but I have one question, uh, Rahul, to you. Uh, how many companies in AI do you think Stellaris will fund? And maybe I'm coming from a curiosity of a lot of the startups who are saying, can I, that is it 10? Can I be part of the 10, 20, 30? And your fund allocation, if you want to talk about how much of that is allocated for AI, those kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't allocate in general. As I said, last one already had close to 25%. I'm hoping it will be closer to 50% this time. So as much
Mm,
as possible, we like to do it, because
okay.
the model is innovative, model is highly scalable. It can transform, and it will transform a
Mm,
lot of industries. So if we are not there, we lose out being part of some of these great companies. So yeah.
good. No, definitely. Any number you want to say, you will fund 10. Uh,
Uh,
this
but
okay. If you're not, if you don't want to say, don't say.
no,
Uh,
I don't have, as I said,
sure,
as
sure,
many as possible. We would
sure,
love
sure,
to
sure,
do
sure, sure. So as many as
more the
possible.
merrier.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. Purvi, anything you want to comment on that?
No, I wish I can just copy Rahul's statement on this. But honestly, no, yeah, I think very similar. See,
Mm,
we are a horizontal fund as well.
mm,
We do all fintech, consumer tech, consumer brands, SaaS AI, and these are all four big pillars for us. I think, obviously a technological shift like this as a VC is a very interesting opportunity
yes,
because you
yes,
are
yes,
betting on something that's new.
yes.
So again, it might seem very repetitive, but as much as possible, we're scouting, we're looking at everything out there possible. And we'll be lucky if we can do, more and more on this. So I don't think there is any dearth of capital for AI companies at this point in
Got it.
time. It's just that if the right idea for the right founders, I think there's just a lot of capital available.
Great. No, definitely. I'm quite excited about you guys, because as VC, I can see, so much happening in AI, and such a transformative, such a, you can say that inflection curves of exponential growth and those kind of stuff, which I've heard in US, a lot of companies ARRs are just going massive in few months itself. So definitely very interesting. I have few questions from audience. I'll just take a couple of those. What are the insights to Rahul, specifically to Rahul? What are your insights or perspective on B2B enterprise workflow integration with agentic AI?
So I don't fully understand the question. First of all,
Okay,
I'll confess to that one.
sure.
Uh, but at the same time, we have been we have already made few investments
Mm-hmm.
around enterprise workflows and agentic AI on top of that. So recently, middle of last year, we announced an investment company called Orbit Shift, which
Okay,
is changing how in large sales or deal flows, how do you basically help an account manager hunt for more new deals?
got it.
So if an Infosys or a HCL, if they're selling to a large customer in US, if they already are if they already sold to that customer, how do you figure out what are the new set of opportunities that account manager discovers, pitches, and closes? So what used to be very manual task
Mm-hmm.
and very human-led task, how do you become a co-pilot to that particular account manager? And there are a few other examples out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I understood the question right or not,
Sure, sure,
but
sure. No, no,
uh,
it's okay. No,
I
no,
think a lot of
definitely.
human tasks will get automated out there.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. Next question, SaaS bundle with supply chain led by domain experts looks like a good solution. Resonate. Can AI help every Kirana stores represent level up to any new D2C's landing pages? Uh, I I think the question is, I'm actually not able to understand, so I probably skip that. Do you think AI should be the service itself, or should it act as an invisible helper in services that are offered? Because most of the products that AI itself as a service don't fare so well generally. It is usually mostly led by unicorns and the leading companies. Uh, about AI for B2C, what trends? Do you want to say? You want to speak about trends that you're seeing? Maybe like uh, quickly, any trends, anything that you want to highlight on AI? That's one of the questions.
Would you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So, see, from a trends perspective, couple of things. I'll probably name the top three.
Mm-hmm.
One is I think there is a lot happening on the vertical workflows, and what I mean by that is that industries which have been very, very human led, like
Mm-hmm.
let's assume start with legal, right, where the TAT was very high, there was a lot of human dependence for accuracy, for better, faster outputs. I think, and legal being one, then probably research being one, whether it's PVC research, whether it's marketing research. The third could be just healthcare. I think there's just so much happening in healthcare. So I think from a trends perspective, these vertical workflows are really getting disrupted by AI, and there's just so much opportunity there. So if you are an expert who has worked in the field, understand those workflows there, I think there's a lot of stuff that founders can do. That's number one. That's one trend. The second one is I think uh, I think the second one is just around this adoption perspective, right? Like, hey, how do you even help adopt enterprises? How do you help enterprises adopt AI? Right, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more you can do about it. Whether it's taking a service first model, service plus product model, whether it's orchestration model, whether it's a platform model. But can you help enterprises adopt AI as a major theme again? And there's a lot of there's like if I think about Unify apps for us, even if I think about Maxib AI for us, these are all that fall under that bucket. I think the last part is the entire go to market that's getting changed a little bit
Mm-hmm.
as a model itself. That a do you really need the kind of go to market tools that you have always needed, and if there is a fundamental shift that's happening there. So we are
Mm-hmm.
seeing a bunch of interesting plays in just GTM stack, whether it's sales, marketing, RevOps, etc. So that entire go to market stack is getting reimagined a little bit. So
Got it.
that's again very interesting. I would think about these top three, but obviously always open to
Mm-hmm.
newer ideas, and if there's
Yeah.
something that comes along.
No,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Rahul, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so maybe I can quickly talk about some of the consumer side,
Mm-hmm.
excitement that we are seeing. As
Mm-hmm.
I was earlier saying, anything which is digital content led can be a very interesting play. So, for example, in education, one of
Mm-hmm.
the biggest challenges that tech has been efficacy, which is why people go back to offline classrooms and so on. Today it is possible, maybe initially with as an assistant, but over time as a full service to be an AI tutor for kids, which is more tailored, more personalized, uh, 24 hours available, and can teach concepts and answer questions in a very interactive manner. So, other than the social part of education, which is where you meet other kids, lot can be achieved by just being purely AI-led education.
Got it.
Similarly, in the content side, we talked about astrology. Like there is no need for a lot of these digital services to have supply side, friction. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, on religion side, a Gita or a Bible that talks to you. This could be a very interesting app,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, on a daily basis. Similarly, on recruitment, as in a lot of interviews that happen, they can be much more structured and smoothened, and hence the outcome of the interview process can be better if it is AI as a co-pilot provided for the interview process. Uh, Help, like in financial services, we have a company called Good Score, which is basically helping people improve their credit score
Mm-hmm.
on a paid basis. It's a content business in fintech,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and people are willing to pay for it because the AI is able to help them provide tips on a daily basis on what
Got
they
it.
can do to improve their credit score. So these are some examples where we are seeing already companies coming out. And I'm sure, as I said, founders will tell us a lot more
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
as they start going deeper thinking and trying to solve those problems for consumers.
No, no, great. Very exciting and very interesting to hear thoughts from you. And I'm very excited. That AI is at the top. At least what I can hear is the top of VCs, because capital is required. And that's one thing that we are seeing in US. That capital is required in AI, and that comes from folks like you. So definitely very exciting. And thank you, Rahul, and thank you, Poorvi, for being part of the minicon. It's I know you have super busy schedule, but great. If you could give us 30 minutes. So a lot of it's not for me. I think for a lot of startups want to hear what are VCs thinking about AI kind of stuff, and I thought
Yeah.
it would be great to bring that out. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thanks a lot.
and you have a
Bye.
great weekend.
Yeah.
You
Bye.
Thank
too.
you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. With that, basically, we wrap up AI MiniCon. Hopefully, you liked. I actually enjoyed it a lot. From hearing from Meesho talking about how they are using AI for the Bharat, right? It's starting from then moving to Dr. Rohini from Microsoft, how Microsoft is looking at India, right? From various perspective examples of how AI can make it accessible for healthcare and education, right? That Dr. Oni gave. Then moving to Dr. Pankaj about how government is leveraging AI for digital procurement kind of business, and creating $12 billion of taxpayer efficiency. You can say that. And then moving to Poorvi and Rahul about how they are looking at deploying capital in AI. So with that, we'll wrap up here, and hopefully you liked it, and we will keep we do these webinars a lot on AI. So please do follow Plotch.ai and our YouTube channels and our LinkedIn, and look forward to talking to you more. And definitely, if you are looking at AI, keep building. A lot of excitement, and best of luck if you're building of whatever you're building in AI kind of stuff. Thank you, and have a great weekend. Bye bye. Take care.